What's going on, everybody? We are back, and as promised, we're going to be talking about transitioning from heavy to medium. Now, this is not for everyone. Some people are still contemplating staying on heavy for many reasons, but we're going to talk about if you do end up going to medium, what are the options? And we have 4 options for you guys today. So out of the 4 options, we're going to speak about 2 of them in depth, but we're going to talk a little bit about the other 2 that we're not going to go into the specifics. First up, we got Koya's knee guards. Koya's knee guards might actually be the best option out of them all, depending on the number here that they might be increasing. They said they're going to buff it. They didn't necessarily say exactly how much or how they're going to be buffing it. They could bring it like the old way of just increasing a type of range damage, and the PTR was actually physical attacks damage till 33% less, which is kind of useless because there are bolt casters, there are 5-stars, there are muskets, and this is effectively not really reducing the damage. Whereas now, 10% less damage is nice, but it's a number too little. So if they do end up increasing this to about 20% plus, it might be the very best option to go medium by utilizing light leg wear, heavy chest, heavy helm, and then the remaining pieces on medium. But for the meantime, we're not really going to talk about this because we don't know the exact numbers of what they're transitioning this buff into. The next option that we're not going to be talking about in-depthly is going to be the Darkplate Artifact. Now, this is the option that I go on heavy because 20% armor increase both physical and elemental is a ton when you're playing heavy loadouts, including all the fortifications that you can get. And on top of that, you also have Enchanted Wood and Physical Aversion combined on one piece, which is a very rare thing to come across. That's why Koya is also very nice. But for a medium set, you're not really escalating fortifications. It just doesn't work that well. And therefore, this isn't the best option out of the 4, and I don't want to include it in the top 2 either. So with the numbers that I've tested around and fiddled around, and also the easiest way to transition from heavy to medium is actually going into featherweight. Now, there's going to be a couple of pros and cons that I'll talk about in later stages. I'm just going to explain to you what you're getting by going for this approach. Obviously, first up, you just need 4 heavy pieces to go alongside featherweight. So if you already have a full heavy set, transition into featherweight is only natural. Now, I wouldn't recommend shirking fortification as mentioned before, and the main reason why is because you're playing medium loadout and you just don't have that high increase armor rating bonuses by utilizing fortification buffs. In total though, this is very easy to attain. If you don't already have it, you probably will be able to craft it in Gypsum Kiln in the next patch. But you do gain 4 Enchanted Wood, 4 Elemental Aversions, 4 Shirking Heals. You also gain the benefit of the Physical Aversion, the Refreshing, and if you want to lock in Fortifying Perforate, you can. But nonetheless, like a very nice double defensives that you can get from the Frigid armor sets. And on top of that, you get a total of 2059 armor when it comes to the physical resistance, and as well as about 1900 armor rating for the elemental side of things. This is obviously including the 200 con. Now that's another topic I want to talk about, is because if you're going 4-piece frigid with the featherweight, that's already 5 magnifiers. So you don't really have that many options when it comes to the stat distribution, and most likely you'll only be able to go for the 200 dex, 200 strength, and 200 con. Now for the last option, which is what I deem to be the best option here, it's the Tumbler feet wraps. As many of you guys already know, bruisers are already effectively using this on a medium weight load because not only do they get some fortification from the bonus artifact, but you also get empowerment. So even if you do go high con, you're compensating with the 15% empowerment, as well on top of that you get 1-piece Shirking Heals for free. Now, obviously, you need to proc it, so it's not going to be as consistent, but the armor rating trade-off compared to featherweight is not going to be that much anyways. You have 1971 armor physical, as well as 1800 elemental armor rating, so definitely not a big difference between the featherweight. Featherweight does come up a little bit on top, but you do end up losing 2 pieces of Enchanted Wood as a trade-off of the Shirking Fortification and Thrust Conditioning. Now, utilizing the Tumbler feet wraps is going to be a little bit harder to attain because you can't just go for 4 frigid pieces like you did with the featherweight. You're going to be utilizing 2 heavy pieces from the frigid set. It's going to be the chest as well as the pants. This is going to be, again, like I mentioned, if you don't have it, you probably will be able to craft it in the next patch. You're going to have to get the Savage Divide medium gloves, and this is in the current rotation, so if you don't have it, I would be getting my grind up right now and farming it, as it is the only medium piece you can get with Elemental Aversion as well alongside another defensive, either be Shirking or Enchanted. It's actually the only medium gloves you can get. And on top of that, you're going to have to craft the light headwear, which in this case, I locked in Elemental Aversion, Fortifying Perforate, and Shirking Heels. Now, as you can see, I've been locking Shirking Heels as the third option for both the Featherweight as well as the Savage Divide mix with Frigid. But it's obviously a lot easier doing it on the Featherweight, because on the Featherweight you can actually lock the third perk, whereas on the next set you're going to have to craft it, and you're also going to have to try and RNG a good third perk for the medium gloves, because this is not a named item, this is not something you can craft, and therefore it's a little bit more time consuming. So let's talk a little bit of a comparison between the Featherweight and the Tumbler option, and then some pros and cons. First up, the armor rating. As you can see, Featherweight actually gained a little bit more consistent armor rating, but the big difference here is you don't really have an artifact. You're going 20.4 when it comes to the weight load, which means you're technically not min-maxing in this regard. It is the easiest way to go about it, but at the same time, when you do end up proccing Tumbler shoes, you're getting 25% fortify. In total, you are getting about 950 armor rating increase, about 500 when it comes to the physical side of things, as well as 450 from the elemental side of things. You get the 15% empowerment as well as the 1 extra Shirking Heels. So you kind of have your own artifact there, and a lot of it just comes down to the fact that you're getting 22.9 weights instead of 20.4. So the benefits are just way higher when it comes to min-maxing. The pros and cons essentially of utilizing Featherweight is that it's extremely easy to transition from heavy to medium. If you already have the set, you can just immediately go for a medium weight load. And most likely, if you don't have it, you are going to be able to craft it and lock the third perk, either be Shirking Heels or something else that you'd prefer on the Gypsum Kiln. But the downside is that it's just not the best setup to min-max. As explained before, you're going for a 20.4 weight load, and on top of that, you don't get any kind of artifact bonus. It's really just for an easy way of equipping yourself, so it's really not the ideal way to go about it. But as for the Tumbler set, you are going to be getting that empowerment, you're going to get that extra fortification, a bonus piece of Shirking Heels, and it might be a little bit more difficult to min-max when it comes to the gear, and it's going to be a little bit more time inducing, as well as a little bit more on the money side of things, because you still have to craft some pieces, but it will definitely be the better option. Now guys, there is no guarantees that I'm still switching to medium, because the sustainability of heavy is so absurd, and getting these fortification escalation coming from the heavy set combined with the void plate there's just no comparison. However, you might have to have a better way of controlling stamina, assuming you can only do 2 dodges, and this might come down to utilizing certain passives such as invigorating crits, strong conditioning, evasive maneuvers, potentially even utilizing a rune glass that has energize on it, so whenever you hit, you are going to be getting a little bit more stamina. But sometimes you just don't have the luxury to get an attack in between the dodges, and therefore you are not able to use evasive maneuvers, you're not able to use your energized rune glass, and you just gray out after 2 dodges. But there's no even guarantees that's going to be happening, because as of right now, Hardy's providing you 10.45 stamina, so even if you do end up using 2 dodges and you have 0 stamina on your bar, you're actually not grayed out, and you're most likely going to have a 3rd dodge as well. Now, I'm assuming they're going to fix that. They're probably going to nerf Hardy, or they're going to just add extra 55.5 stamina usage perhaps to fix this problem, because a lot of it just comes to their really trashy coding. But only time will tell, and if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, drop down a comment below if you have any questions concerning about the videos or what's coming for the next patch, and of course, have a happy new year.